What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm so tired. Hold on one second. I have been running like the last 5 minutes because I left my memory card back at the house, although it's not that far, but I'm just out of shape, unfortunately. But take a look at this view. Isn't that amazing? This is my in-laws' house, or actually this is their land, and they allowed us to come stay with them for basically 6 weeks because when the pandemic happened, we were living in an RV, and they said, hey, if you just want to have a change of scenery, feel free to come to Indiana, and we did. But today we're going to talk about the Andersen Ultimate Hitch. Now, this is my father-in-law's RV. They took this thing pretty much around the USA using it. When I first bought my RV, I originally was going to buy the same thing, but I found the Reese Goosebox and I fell in love with that one instead. But today, let's just go ahead and take a look at it. Now, unfortunately, my father-in-law had to leave a little bit early, and so I was gonna undo everything and hook up, but I will at least show you guys a kind of an idea what the clearance would be. So stay tuned for that, and then I'm just gonna give you guys my opinion on this hitch, so stay tuned. So let's just hit this twice, and here it is. He's used this pretty much for the last year. They were on the road full time, and so far he has had no issues. Now, big shout out to J-Rod. He did point something out to me that I'm going to go over in a second about this hitch that was kind of a negative. So that's kind of what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you the pros and cons of having this. Now, as I mentioned, my setup, all I need in the bed is the ball. If you do decide you want to get the Andersen hitch, you're going to have this bad boy, and you're gonna have the ball. So let me show you what I'm talking about. The very first thing we're gonna do is remove this. So this is my first time ever playing with this, so we're doing this kind of together. So whatever I learned today, we learned together. Now this ball, this is a B&W gooseneck ball. As you guys can see, this one is actually raised a few inches. I don't know if this is going to work well with this gooseneck ball. So do some research online when you go to choose your ball, because I don't know if this is going to sit too high for this. So let's go ahead and check it out. Now, I see that there's a pin right here. There's also a pin. This is adjustable. So this goose ball that you hook up to the pin box is adjustable. So just keep that in mind. So let's pull this out. I undid these 3 bolts, because I did look that up online just to make sure I didn't look like an idiot. So I do know that. So that comes out, and let's just lift this up and see what happens. Okay, so so far so good. It is sitting on the ball now. It looks like it's pretty level too. So I'm not going to put the pin in for now because we're not going to tow today. But overall, oh, actually, what you're gonna have to do, I would strongly recommend, if you are looking at this setup, get a ball that's lower than this one is. That way, because you can see this sits too high. So you're gonna want a ball that sits lower. I think that Kurt makes a ball, and there's a few other ones out there that might work better than a B&W, because like I said, I bought this ball so I had more clearance, you know, on the sides, because I do use a gooseneck for my 5th wheel, which is called the Reese Goosebox. And yeah, this ball sits too high for this, but we'll still be able to use it for reference here. So all you have to do is tighten these bolts up. I've seen online that you have to use 50 pound-feet of torque for this top one here, and then these pretty much just lock it in place. And then, like I said, you can't forget your pins. Let's just see something real quickly. I'm going to check these out to see if they'll fall in place. If you have your hooks in, this won't move, but I still strongly recommend, if you are looking to do this setup, get a shorter ball. That way you don't have this moving. But like I said, if you tighten that top bolt to 50, I think you can go all the way up to like 100 pound-feet of torque. Just contact Andersen. They can give you some guidelines on what you can do for this, but you can torque this down a lot. That way this stays pretty secure, because you don't want this to move. Now, that was one issue that I did see online. A lot of guys did say that when they had this Andersen Ultimate Hitch, as they were towing the trailer, this would actually move. And I'm not sure if they had a taller ball, so that could be something you can take off your list if that's the issue they were having. One of my viewers, J-Rod, I'll give you a shout out. He did mention, look, there's a butterfly down here. He did mention that these two bolts did put wear and tear on the pin box. So I'll put the link in the description below. So just feel free to do some research on this thing. I'm not going to give you a lot of negatives on this thing because I've never towed with it. I'm just going to give you guys what people have told me online. But I would still recommend take those things with a grain of salt. I do like this setup here because you can actually turn this the opposite way to give yourself more clearance. But as you guys can see, my fall-on has it pointed outward this way. That way he can give himself more clearance between his cab and the cap of the trailer. Just to give you an example of that, you guys can see where the ball that's connected into the frame is at, and look how far out this sticks out. So this gives you pretty good clearance. Hooking up is really easy. So whenever you back up, you can kind of see on the sides here, if you are kind of off center, this has like a kind of like a groove that goes inward like this, so it'll kind of help slide this into the coupler. And you can see right here, in order to lock this in, all you have to do is just push this inward like this, and then you can turn it to lock it. That way it's secure. So if anyone tries to come up and pull it, it's hard to do. They have to turn it like this. And you would have to mount this to the trailer, and I've even seen people install it onto the pin box also. And whenever you lock it in, you can see that a metal piece slides in and secures the ball in there. What we're gonna do next is I'm gonna show you guys a few cons of this setup here that I can see and what I've heard from other viewers too on the Andersen hitch. The one thing that is pretty negative about having a gooseneck toe, and this goes with the Reese Goosebox, is that there's gonna be tilt from side to side. You actually are probably putting less stress on the trailer because that ball is allowing pin box to pivot more. However, the negative is, and this is something that a lot of people said online, was you can make contact with the bed. Now, I made contact with my Reese Goosebox, not this. So I'm just speaking out of turn and saying that 3 or 4 guys online did mention that they have made contact with their bed because either the ball wasn't high enough or just maybe they just got really like aggressive on the articulation of the trailer and it just made contact. One negative for me is the fact that you have to store this hitch. So if you do get to a campground and you want to use your bed maybe to go pick up some stuff, or if you're done for the day, with me, all I have to do is just raise my goose ball, take it out, put it inside the box here, throw it in my fifth wheel. But this right here would not fit inside my fifth wheel, so I would have to leave this under my RV, which means it could potentially get stolen. So that's a negative for me. So I like the fact that for me, all I have is that ball. I can store it inside my RV, lock it up, and I don't have to worry about it. Now, some of the other pros and cons to the Ultimate Hitch is that this is pretty lightweight. I actually was lifting this up with the camera in my hand earlier. Obviously, I cut that footage because it was kind of cumbersome, but still, I mean, for myself, I could hook this up inside the trailer pretty easy. Now, one thing I'll mention is because it is lightweight, it's easy to put inside the truck. Your initial setup is going to probably take a lot longer versus once you have it fine-tuned. And what I mean by that is this: when my father-in-law first got this, he had to adjust his pin box and he had to adjust the ball here to kind of get the perfect ride height for the trailer, because when he initially got the Andersen hitch, he had to lift the trailer up really high just to clear the ball, and that was on its lowest setting here. So initial setup's going to take the longest. I would figure if you have to undo that pin box and push it up some to give you more clearance, I would probably say that first setup could take a couple hours. But once that's done, taking this in and out of the truck could take you less than 5 minutes. So that's really a good pro. Once you have pretty much set everything up, it's very easy from there. One thing I would like to see from this is them maybe adding some dampening to this, because I did see online that a few people have mentioned that it can give it some bucking because all you have is this sitting on top of a ball. So you're going to have a little bit of transfer or like vibration transfer from the trailer. With the Reese Goosebox, you have 2 shock absorbers that's built into the pin box. You have 2 rubber grommets, and you actually have an airbag inside. And the way that the coupler works is it moves, you know, forward and backwards to kind of take some of that bucking out of your ride. So when I go down the road, I literally cannot feel my RV behind us. That's with having full tank of water inside my 81-gallon tank, and even sometimes even having water inside my gray water tanks and black water tanks too. The one question I get online a lot is, would I have chosen this over the Reese Goosebox, or did I know about this when I bought my Reese Goosebox? I did know about this, and a funny story is, before I bought my Reese Goosebox, I actually had this in my online cart to buy, and then I think a couple of days later, I found the Reese Goosebox. I did a lot of research. I think it took me like 2 more weeks to decide, and I decided on the Reese Goosebox. And the only reason why I thought it was a better idea was because I liked the fact that it had dampening, so it was going to help with overall like transfer, like from vibrations from the trailer. But also I like the idea that I didn't have to worry about carrying a fifth wheel hitch. Now this thing is 35 pounds, so it's not that heavy, but once you get to a campground, if you do need to use your bed, you still have to take this out, put it under the trailer. It could potentially get stolen, and I figure since you're already using a ball to tow, why not just take this out of the equation, just use the ball that's already there, as you guys can see. But on that note, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below, and I'll try to help you as much as I can. Peace. The ball is 17 inches high on its lowest setting. 38 9/16 from the front of the bed to the ball, and this sits about 35.5 inches to the back of the bed too, and this sits approximately about 7.5 inches from where the goose ball connects to the frame of the truck too.